when I first started, I was actually like kind of really big into in the box stuff, like really out of necessity. Like that's all I had. So I had a lot of plugins. I was really into that, and I was getting into synths that way because it was you know, it was just easy access, and you know, you had presets so you could sort of like take and then adapt into your own thing. So that was like my first introduction into like synthesizers and that sort of thing. And then at some point, I think I missed like the tactile control, because I'm a guitar player, so sort of missed like actually playing an instrument and that sort of thing. And that's when I ended up buying a Juno 60 off of a friend in college. And I mean, it's, you know, it's an analog synth. It's digitally controlled oscillators technically, but so you don't have a lot of the like tuning issues, but it's still like a pretty full, like thick sound. So I really liked that, and that was you know, it was polyphonic, so it was like, it was a nice introduction into that world, and then from there I was hooked. And then once I got into modulars, that's really when I started to understand synthesis and see that there's all kinds of other trains or schools of thought. When I got into modulars, I really understood how even the Juno is working, or how, like, you know, an MS-10 works. Everything sort of started to make sense. Like when you're forced to patch things manually, you understand what's happening because you have to. Like you don't have a choice. So that was sort of my path into this world, and it's not a very practical one, but it's something that that I feel like gives me a lot of options. It lets me be a musician, I guess, instead of just like fiddling around on a computer. I felt much more in touch with what I was doing. Sometimes I'll start something with it, but I'll eventually fine-tune each individual section and then record it, and then like kind of put it together on the computer, because it gives me more freedom for editing and that sort of thing. I really enjoy about the modulars that it sort of has a mind of its own. You can understand what's going on, but there's still certain things that will like just happen and you don't really know what's going on, but they're like just kind of happy accidents. Like it's just like, oh cool, I'm glad I got that, because that adds like character to a song. And especially the kind of music that I make, like I feel like I'm much more in like the pop world, and like as much weirdness I can add to that and still get away with writing a pop song, that makes me happy. It obviously has limitations in some ways. You're mainly budget. So it gets pretty complex, but I feel like you can really create something on its own. You don't need a computer, which I love that idea, that you don't need a computer, that you just have this standalone machine that can interface with a computer if you need it to, but it doesn't need to be, it's a lot of fun. Well, I started pretty modestly. Like it's kind of it's something that can get kind of expensive. So if you're just starting out, you don't want to go too crazy right away. I feel like this is sort of practical advice, but like, you know, just start small. Get a couple modules, get to know them, get to know what they do, and then from there, like, start to think about where you want to go with that. I was happy that I think I started with maybe like 4 or 5 modules, so it wasn't anything impressive or even close to that. It was sort of just, it was just like a couple things that I could interface with my other synths, and like it was just a nice, easy transition into what later become an obsession. So, so just be prepared to you know, get sucked into it, and and always want more. It's never enough. I sort of swore to myself that I would stop at 1 case, and I'm currently on 2, so we'll see where it goes. As far as like specific modules, I would probably start with something pretty basic, you know, like an oscillator in a filter, and like just make a synthesizer voice, like 1 oscillator, and that, I think you can. That's a good place to start.
Take it from there.
Yeah, and then get into the crazy stuff. You don't want to get too deep into it right away, unless you're like really into it. I don't know.